Can Washington win a national championship in 2023? This is a team that surprised people by being ahead of schedule under Kalen DeBoer in year one, but it's a matter of can they take that next step and elevate their game even more? Washington surprised a lot of people, and while that surprise factor is gone, it's still a team that has plenty of talent to make a run at a Pac-12 championship. Now, I believe the Pac-12 is going to be much better than it has been in the last couple of years. That makes things difficult for a team like Washington, a team that has talent on both sides of the football, but you're going to have to beat teams like Oregon. You're going to have to beat teams like USC, Utah. There's a lot of teams you have to worry about. And that level of competition makes life difficult for teams trying to make a run. Now, it could also make things difficult for the Pac 12 to get back into the college football playoff, but this is going to be a good test. You look at even the non conference schedule, Boise State off the bat. This is a game that Washington should win with really no problem. There's no reason why they shouldn't win this game, but Boise State is a very talented team that's going to make things difficult in the first half for sure. It's just a matter of how long Boise State can hang around. If Washington is going to take a step forward and be that national championship contender, they're going to put Boise State away in the second half. They're going to find a way to win comfortably, and that's going to be a great way to start the year. Tulsa at home shouldn't be as much of a concern. The next week, though, is where things get interesting. At Michigan State, this is a team that beat Michigan State, and you've seen what they can do again. Last year, we saw what they could do. And now you head to a team in Michigan State that was taking a step backwards in 2022, but should be much better in 2023. That's a difficult test. Playing in East Lansing, we saw even when Oregon and Michigan State played against each other, when Oregon went to Michigan State, that is an underrated atmosphere. And that is a team that is going to give you a run for your money. They're going to be a tough team. And I like what Michigan State has returning. It's just a matter of how well can Washington handle that pressure. How can they handle playing on the road against a tough opponent? Because after that, you're leading into Pac 12 play. And if you're 3-0, you're sitting pretty good. You're building a lot of confidence with 2 wins over Boise State and a Michigan State team on the road. That's going to do a lot for your team going forward. Now, again, Pac 12 play is not going to be easy. Pac 12 play presents plenty of challenges. Now, Cal, probably not one of those challenges to start, but a trip to Arizona is probably more difficult than I think people realize. I said that Arizona was going to be a surprise team in 2022, and they were a surprise team in 2022. Maybe not as much as I maybe thought they were going to be, but they still surprised plenty of people. Then you have Oregon at home. That is a tough game, a tough 2 game stretch. Arizona State should be much better. That is something to keep an eye on, as well as Stanford. Stanford next week is also going to be a team that I think is much better. Now, should Washington State or Washington, excuse me, win those games? Yes, absolutely. But you're looking at teams that are much better, and you have to bring your A game week in and week out. Then you go to USC and then host Utah at home. Again, this is a tough stretch at Arizona, Oregon, Arizona State, at Stanford, at USC, and Utah. That is a tough stretch for really any team. And Washington, if they find a way to navigate that, I feel really good about their chances not only to win the Pac-12 championship, but to get into the college football playoff, make a case to win a national championship. Then the last 2 games, again, this speaks to the depth of the Pac-12 this year. At Oregon State and Washington State, Washington State, the rivalry game, that's always going to be tough. At Oregon State, we'll know what Oregon State's going to be, but this is a team that won 10 games last year in Oregon State. So that's not something to just look past. You're looking at a conference that is extremely tough to win, and it's not going to be easy. But if you find ways to win all of these games, that is a battle tested team that I honestly don't want to see in the postseason. And if they win the Pac 12 championship after going undefeated with this schedule, that's a team that can win a national championship. There is no doubt about that. And when you look at the talent they have returning, it's easy to see why they could do that. Now, everything starts with Michael Penix Jr. I think that he has to take a step forward, even after a phenomenal year in 2022, over 4,600 yards and 31 touchdowns. I think that he needs to get the ball in the end zone more through the air. This is a team that is going to be extremely explosive. Kalen DeBoer is phenomenal at getting his offense to put up points. And I think that there's another level that they can hit. When you look at the receivers he has returning, Odunze, McMillian, and Polk are all back. This is a group that is extremely explosive, over 2,700 yards last year, and you're looking at 22 touchdowns returning, 22 of Penix's 31. those are some familiar faces that he's going to be comfortable with. He has no problem figuring everything else out in terms of getting other guys on track because he knows he can rely on that trio. That is a trio that knows what he likes, knows where they need to be, and knows how to get open. And that's going to be huge for a quarterback that had his best season of his career. Now, taking a step forward, how does he do that? You're probably not going to do that in yards unless you just become even more of an air raid team. But with how explosive this team could be, maybe you're looking at beating that yardage total. The touchdowns is probably where it's going to have to get a little bit better. Now, maybe some of the decision making with Penix too. You're looking at some decisions we saw last year that weren't the best, maybe, but with the talent that he has a great arm. So a lot of times the confidence in his ability to make difficult throws is going to be a huge thing for him this year because he is going to face a lot more pressure. I think that teams are going to switch things up on him and they're going to make things more difficult. But again, with the talent you have returning, there's no reason to believe that this shouldn't be an extremely talented group once again in 2023. Then when you flip over to the defensive side of the ball, because everybody's gushing about the offense, this is a defense that could be one of the better groups in college football. You're looking at Braylon Trice is probably the one that stands out the most. He was getting a lot of NFL attention this year, and I think that he could do the exact same thing next year as well. And he is someone who is going to command a lot of attention, so that opens things up for the rest of the front seven, which returns quite a bit of experience as well. The secondary, Asa Turner is the probably the big name that people know. You lost quite a bit of talent in the secondary. That's going to be tough to replace. But again, you got a good front seven that can help you slow things down. You can help your secondary by being able to get to the quarterback, being disruptive in the backfield. There's no reason to believe that this defense can't be just as good as they were last year, maybe even better. Now, Washington, again, there's a lot that they need to do. The schedule is challenging. There's some pieces that they need to figure out that seem some teams, pieces they need to replace. But there are a lot of things to like about this team. I like where Kalen DeBoer already has this program. He wasted little time getting them back on track. And this is a team that could win a national championship. It's just going to be a difficult road. And that's, you know, when you win a national championship, Georgia's had that path for a while. Alabama's had that path for a while. It's not going to be easy to win a national championship, but when you look at some of these teams that are capable of it, you have the necessary pieces returning for Washington to make a run. It's not going to be easy in the conference they're in, and then it's even going to be even more difficult in the college football playoff. But this is a team that can make things happen. It's going to be an exciting team, a team that's going to compete in the Pac-12. And if they find a way to do probably I don't want to call it unthinkable, but the unlikely, then you're looking at a team that can definitely compete for a national championship.